Alrighty, well, I appreciate you guys coming out today as we talk about taking the gospel to the college campuses in America. And if you got your Bible with you, want to look in Acts chapter number 17. Just want to read a few scriptures to you as we kind of get started and just kind of get a thought from Scripture about this. Acts chapter 17, when we 4 years ago, we went to Appalachian State to begin a campus ministry there in Boone, North Carolina. I never knew you could go to a college campus. I didn't really grow up in church. I got saved at the age of 21 through a door-to-door soul winning visitation program of a local church in my hometown. They led me to Christ, and the Lord just has used, helped me to grow and called me to preach, got us into ministry. I say that to say I didn't know you could go to a college campus. I didn't know you could go to a public school. I attended Appalachian State as an unsaved young man. And, they kindly invited me to leave. What I mean by that, they kicked me out just because my lifestyle didn't line up with the secular college. But I had no idea there was any Christian presence there. We were working with youth for about 7 years, and then I saw what was being done here at the University of Tennessee, and my eyes were just opened. I never knew the opportunity you have to go on a college campus, how wide open the door is, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today. But as I searched scriptures, I began getting into ministry there at Appalachian State. I began to say, where in the Bible is the college campus? How do I know what to do, and how do you know what to do on a university campus? And we see in the Old Testament, we see a mention of the college in Jerusalem, just in passing, 2 Kings, 2 Chronicles. We move to the New Testament, and we see Paul establishing the church at Ephesus at the school of one Tyrannus. And it's interesting in Acts chapter 19 to see that all of Asia heard the word of the Lord because of that school there in Ephesus, established there on the school of one Tyrannus. And I began to wonder, why did all Asia hear the word of the Lord from that place? But as I learn and understand more about a college campus, so many people come from all over the state, from all over the country. They come from so many different places, and then they go back home. So you can see the gospel being taught and then it being launched out from that place to so many different people. And then we come to Acts chapter 17 in verse number 16. It doesn't say anything about a university. It doesn't say anything about a college, but in essence, this is a college town. Acts chapter 17, verse number 16 says this: Now while Paul waited for them at Athens, his spirit was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. Therefore disputed he in the synagogue with the Jews and with the devout persons, and in the market daily with them that met with him. Then certain philosophers of the Epicureans and of the Stoics encountered him, and some said, What will this babbler say? Other some he seemed to be a setter forth of strange gods, because he preached unto them Jesus and the resurrection. And they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying, May we know what this new doctrine whereof thou speakest is? For thou bringest certain strange things to our ears. We would know therefore what these things mean. For all the Athenians and strangers which were there spent their time in nothing else, but either to tell or to hear some new thing. Verse number 22 in Acts 17 says, Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, Ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things you are too superstitious. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with the inscription to the unknown God, whom therefore ye ignorantly worship, him declare I unto you. And we could go down and see how Paul approaches this group of people. But as we learn a little bit about Athens, we understand that it is one of 3 university cities in the known world then. I mean, this is home to Socrates, Plato, many philosophers that we would still, not we would study, but secularists would study today. That's home. That was where they were taught. That's where they were educated. And it was the learning capital of the world. I mean, you would study art there. You would study science, philosophy, and many other things would be studied there. Basically, it's a hotbed of unbelief. And if you walk on a college campus, there are great students there. I don't want to sit here and paint this awful picture that Appalachian State or University of Tennessee or whatever college maybe is around your area is just this awful place, because there are good students there. There are good faculty there. There are believers there on that campus trying to make a difference. But the majority there is a hotbed of unbelief. It's a hotbed of secularism that is trying to be promoted through the teaching, the, if you will, brainwashing of our young people through their minds, through their thinking. And we come to Athens and we see that. And Paul here, he didn't want to go to Athens. I mean, he's rushed out of the previous city. He's in Berea. They escort him here. And in Athens, he's just sitting there. I mean, I can kind of see Paul, I mean, he's a go-getter. I mean, he's just got to sit here now. He's kind of got to sit out on it. It says he just begins to look around. And because he saw this city wholly given to idolatry, it stirred in his spirit. He went there and he spent just a little bit of time there. And by what he saw, it moved in him. And Jeremiah tells us, Mine eye affecteth my heart. And it causes us something to be stirred inside of us. And Paul was there, and it says his spirit was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. And then it tells us, therefore disputed he in the synagogues with the Jews and with the devout persons, and in the market daily with them that met with him. So he encounters three different people. He encounters some that have some knowledge of God, but they don't know Jesus Christ as their personal Savior. These devout Jews, these Jews in the synagogue. Then he meets with devout persons, believers. And then he meets with anybody in the market that will meet with him daily. He's there in this place, on this college campus, in this college community. He's there daily meeting with people. What is he doing? He's carrying on Bible studies. What is he doing? He's witnessing. He's passing out what we would say tracts. He's communicating with people, the gospel, who Jesus Christ is. And it's very interesting to me because he is there, because he's spending time there. One, his heart is stirred. And that word there it means he's provoked to anger. That doesn't mean Paul goes out and begins to beat up people, to fuss at them and scream at them, but it means his heart is so stirred in him that he can only do one thing, and that is therefore he disputes daily with these people. And we see because he's there, he's encountered by these people. In verse 18 it says, then certain philosophers of the Epicureans and of the Stoics encountered him, and some said, what will this babbler say? That's encouraging. You're there on a college campus, you're witnessing, and what is this babbler going to say? What's this idiot got to say now? But there's going to be people there like that. And you see, we would say, well, the atheists, the agnostics of our day and time, that's something new. Well, there's nothing new under the sun, because these are the atheists and agnostics of Paul's day, and he had to deal with them. And we learn a lot. We don't have time to go into it, but you can see, you say, how would Paul answer the atheists, the agnostics of his day, these higher learning young men and women there in Athens on a college campus? To be sure, he would have volumes that he would lay out, a 20-page thesis. Well, there's 10 verses, and we see it in Acts chapter 17. He begins with God as the creator. He appeals to their conscience. He even meets them where they're at and appeals and talks about their own critics. And then bottom line is he preaches Jesus Christ to them. But what strikes me so strange here in verse number 18, they say, what will this babbler say? Some he seemed to be a setter forth of a strange God, because he preached to them Jesus and the resurrection. There were people in Athens, when they heard about God, the creator God of the Bible, that you and I know, when they heard about Jesus Christ, this was so strange to them. They said, what is he talking about? I've never heard anything about this. Who is this Jesus? What is this God? And I would love to tell you, we're at Appalachian State. It's in the South. And I would love to tell you that everybody that I witnessed to and talked to knows God. At least has heard about him, but that's not the case. We've gone there and we've realized there's many young people we have to give a Bible to because they've never owned one. Some of them, yes, brought up in the South. Some of them, yes, they've come from other states across our country. Some of them are many nations of the world that come there at Appalachian State to study from all over the world. And they've never heard of the God of the Bible. And it becomes strange things in their ears. You know what many of them say? Tell me more. I want to hear about this God of the Bible. I want to hear about this Jesus Christ that you're teaching about, that you're preaching about. And that's what they did. In verse number 19, they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying, may we know what this new doctrine whereof thou speakest is. For thou bringest certain strange things to our ears. We would know therefore what these things mean. For all the Athenians and strangers which were there spent their time in nothing else. And that's the essence of a college campus. Spend their time in nothing else but either to tell or hear of some new thing. And then we see Paul's sermon to them there on Mars Hill. You know, as we come to the college campus, I want you to know the door is wide open. Let me ask you this before we go any further. How many of you here, I know some are students, you work on the UT ministry here. You just raise your hand? One. Okay, very good. How many of you have a college campus, maybe from your home church, that's within 30 miles driving distance? Raise your hand for me. Okay, that's great. If you have a college campus that's within 30 minutes, 30 miles driving range, that campus is within reach for you to have a ministry there. If it's in your hometown, I don't command you to go. Appalachian State is in Boone, North Carolina. That's where we live. Jesus Christ commands me to go there because it's in my Jerusalem, and I must go there. And that's what we're going to talk about. What do we do? How can we do ministry there? Athens is the American college campus today. One of the speakers mentioned about the nuns, and that's a very important figure for me. The Pew Research did research, and they say the fastest growing group in America is the nuns, the N-O-N-E-S. From 2007, it was 17%. To 2013, it grew all the way to 22.8%. You say, so what? It's statistics. That's what I say to them sometimes. They're just numbers. But what's interesting, that's 1 in 5 in America, but when you dig into the numbers, it goes from 1 in 5 to 1 in 3 from the ages of 18 to 29. So do you see where America is going, especially when you begin to get down to the younger age group? And where are we going to find these young people? We're going to find many of them on a college campus, because 66% of young people after high school, directly out of high school, will attend some form of higher education. By their second year, 76% will attend some form of higher education. So 76% of the young people that are going through America are going to end up, whether it be a community college, whether it be a private college, or whether it be a secular state college, are going to go through some form of higher education. And how dare we as the church of the living God, the local New Testament church, not reach them and engage them with the gospel? How dare we say, well, I don't really want to go there because I don't like the lifestyle. I don't like the higher learning. I feel a little bit of intimidation. But as you go there, just like Paul, you see these are real people. These are people with hearts, with souls, with mamas and daddies, with brothers and sisters just like you and I. And though some of them may talk like this over your head, the majority of them, you're going to meet them just right here. No problem at all communicating with them. So what are we going to do? I just want to share with you a little bit. Let me read you a quote that Charles Malik did. He was part of the United Nations. He was a Christian in the political sphere. And he had this to say. He did a critique of Christianity in the college campus. He says, the university is a clear-cut fulcrum with which to move the world. The problem here is for the church to realize that no greater service can render both itself and the cause of the gospel with which it is entrusted than to try to recapture the universities for Christ on whom they were originally founded. One of the best ways of treating the macrocosm is through the handle of the universities in which millions of youth destined to positions of leadership spend in rigorous training between 4 and 10 years of the most formative period of their life. He says, more potently than by any other means, you change the university and you change the world. You see, if you reach the university, you reach the world. But if we can go a step further and we can change the university, because they were originally founded upon Jesus Christ to train people, to train young men and women for service. But Satan has taken those. Satan has ripped those away from us. And I'm not content with letting him have those. We must go back and we must take that back. So how do we do that? We believe the most effective way to reach the college campus is to establish what we're going to call a registered student organization. It's what's done here for the past 20 years. It's what we've done at APP. It's what we've helped a lot of other churches do. I mean, when I say that, the door is wide open. So we're going to talk about establishing a registered student organization. And what that is a group on campus that is recognized by the school. That is a group that the school wants to be there, because many times we travel around, and just kind of my same thinking, I had no idea that the college campus was open at all. I didn't think you could go there, and as I travel around, most people had the same understanding. What do you mean I can go there and we can witness? What do you mean I can go there and they will give me facilities to meet in, that they will allow us to be there? You mean I can go there and pass out tracts legally? I don't have to sneak in the back door and go undercover? No, not at all. You see, because of the Supreme Court passed a law, the Equal Access Law, to let all the other groups in, guess what? They let us in, and that's good, because we can come in. So we're talking about establishing a registered student organization there on campus. And what does this do for your church? And I want to emphasize that needs to be done through a local church. There are other groups there on campus that are not through a local church. And we emphasize, as far as Collegians for Christ, as we go out, we find a local church in the area. It's important because then it can pray, it can govern, it can work. It has the lay people. When these students leave home, they're going to a college campus, you know what? They need a pastor. Yeah, they need a campus ministry, a community to be a part of, but they need more than that. They need a pastor. They need some elderly people in the church that can love on them. They need some younger people in the church that they can be leadership for, that they can lead and be a person there that the young people can look to. So if you establish a registered organization, what is that going to do for your church? Well, it's going to fill your church up with young people. It's not. I would love to tell you that everybody that's going to be a part of that campus ministry group is going to be a part of your church, but they're not. But you are going to have a good group that will. If you think this is going to build your church, it's probably not. But it's you taking an extension of your church, your influence, your gospel preaching, and you're taking it to that campus. And if we establish this, they're going to give you facilities to meet in weekly, any size facilities that you need. Appalachian State, we reserve the year in advance. And if we need a room for 10, if we need a room for 300, they give us that for free. If we want to hold a meeting to have some speaker come in, a guest speaker, we reserve that. They give us that for free. No problem at all. You'll be able to go to certain key school events. Every year, Appalachian State and other schools have what they call a club expo, something in the beginning of the year where all the freshmen are coming through, and you'll be able to set up a table. You'll be able to share information about your ministry, about your church, and so forth. You'll be able to do that. They have different ones throughout the year that you'll be able to do that because you're a registered group. Some schools will let you, let's say you're trying to get established. Some school, not quite as many, will allow you as a church just to come set up a table, but many will not. You need to be a registered group on campus. You have access to key school events. The postal system at Appalachian State, 10,000 post office boxes. And we're allowed to stick a gospel tract in there that has information, of course, about the gospel, but it has information about our church, our Bible study, and we can stick that in there. It goes across campus to 10,000 students. We can do that. It used to just be twice a year. Now we can do that as much as we want to, though it costs us $15 per 1,000. But they allow us to do that, and it has a gospel presentation on the back. No problem at all. You have access to the campus to distribute tracts, literature. You can preach to students, talk to students. We set up tables a lot. And basically two methods of reaching students when we're on campus. One, we go out and we soul win. We walk up to them, we hand them tracts, we engage them in conversation. Number two is a different approach. We set up tables on campus, whether it be in the student union, whether it be out in what we call the mall or the brickyard, whatever the area is outside. And we set up a table and we give out, say, free coffee. And what that does, free hot chocolate, free lemonade, whatever it is, a prayer table. What we're doing is getting students to come to us while they're mixing their little sugars and their creamers, because students love coffee. Wintertime at App, in the mountains of North Carolina, it's cold, so a little hot chocolate goes a long way. And while they're mixing it, while they're stirring it, we can engage them in conversation. And it's just in a different approach. It allows them to come to us versus us going to them. So we do both of those. Because you're a registered group, you can do that, and you can do that as much as you want. You can do it weekly. We would say as we go in the fall semester, we want to be on campus weekly with a table set up. We want to be on campus weekly passing out information, talking to students. We want to be outside of campus weekly at apartment buildings. Every college town has lots of apartments, and you can hit those every year. That's a goal for us, and you can honestly hit them every semester if you wanted to and almost never see the same face behind the door. Why is that? Because the majority of apartments have 3, 4, 5 students living behind that door, and then students move around a whole lot. So you can engage and you can target those apartment buildings semesterly or yearly. So what else if you establish this registered group? What is it going to do for you? You're going to be able to post advertisements around campus on bulletin boards. You have the ability to use the school's logo. Like we have Collegians for Christ shirts. We have Appalachian State's logo on the front of it, Collegians for Christ on the back. We had the ability this year, this Bible, Bearing Precious Seed, helped us with it. Now you can print them with the school colors, but this is App's logo. You cannot use this A symbol without the school's express permission. Now think about this. A state-supported school gave us permission to print this on a Bible. But that just shows you how open they are to you if you are a registered group. And you don't tell me students will not take one of these. And when we pass them out, our students will be out there Thursday passing these out because students love, what is this? And some of them, will throw it down and so forth, but majority of them, they'll take a Bible and they will read it. And you say, well, why do you do that? You're in the South. Because so many young people have never owned a Bible. They don't know about God. They don't know about Jesus Christ and what God can do through that. That's why. You have access to key school sporting events on App's website, any school website. When you go on there, they're going to have a ministry listing, and it will have your Collegians for Christ, whatever group name you go under. It will have it there. It'll have information for your church. There'll be a link. You can have your church's website on the school's website. So when students are looking for information for student groups and they want to find a church, they can find you. You'll be listed on there. You have access to records through the office for the students' religious affiliation if you want to target, say, international students, if you want to target people that are Baptist affiliated, if you want to target students that have no religious affiliation at all, you can target them. You can get their information, you can get their email address, and you can get their post office box number. And bottom line is it allows you, when we were at Appalachian State before we were recognized, we were on the outside of campus, and we're trying to get in. And we're on the outside. We're just looking for any available way to get in, talk to students. Now we are in the center of that campus. Right there, the school body surrounds us. And they know who Collegians for Christ is because we have our banner. We're on campus weekly, every other week. They see us. They know us. And we're able to carry out a full-scale ministry there to reach the students. And we've seen students' hearts changed, lives changed. And the most beautiful thing about campus ministry is we did youth ministry for about 7 years. Love young people. I wouldn't talk bad about them at all. But the only difference is Mom and Dad are not making them come to my meeting. They're coming to Bible study on Tuesday night. They're coming to a prayer meeting on Tuesday night in the library because they choose to. They're coming to pass out tracts with us because they choose to. They're coming to pass out these Bibles and witness to their college campus because they're burdened and they desire to. Not because mom and dad are telling them to or I'm telling them to, because they desire to make an impact. So how can you go about doing this? One, you got to have somebody to lead the ministry, right? And that's always the first and foremost. A pastor says, well, I don't have laborers. I'd love to do this. Well, we have some pastors that have been praying for 2 years for laborers, and guess what? We get a call. Can you come help us now because I have the laborers, somebody in our church. The beautiful thing is lay people can lead this ministry. It doesn't have to be a paid church staff person. When we went to Appalachian State, I worked a full-time job. We established a ministry there. We worked the ministry. And if you have a church, you have the tools and resources amongst your people to work this ministry. Why? Because it meets in the evenings on a Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday night. So very easily a couple that works can work this ministry. It can be a Sunday school teacher. It can be whoever. But I just want to mention that by way that it doesn't have to be a paid church staff member, the college campus pastor, because that can be daunting, especially for a lot of smaller churches. You say, does it have to be a large church? No, it does not. It can be a church the size of 2,500. It can be a church the size of 25. That's the size churches that we work with in helping to establish these ministries. Our church runs 100, 125 on Sunday morning. So we're not considered a large church, but it's a good-sized church to be able to carry out this ministry and get our people engaged in it. So how on earth do you establish a ministry on your local college campus? Well, first, the average requirements for schools, and we can find these out for you because the school puts them online. You have to dig a little bit, but you can find them. But the average requirements are 5 to 10 students, a faculty advisor. And when I say a faculty advisor, it doesn't have to be a professor. Many people get scared away because they don't have a professor, but it can be anybody that works at that school that's some sort of administrative staff. It could be the finance office. It could be any kind of school office there. It doesn't have to be a professor. So you got to have 5 to 10 students. Some schools are as low as 2 students. Some schools are as high as 10 students. You need one of those students to be your president. They'll need to be able to facilitate between you and the school. And you need a constitution, which you can do. We can help you with all that. That's part of our ministry as far as helping out. And you petition the school. And what that means is you just turn in the paperwork. Every school is different when you turn in that paperwork of how they do it. Appalachian State, we had to sit before a board of 26 students. And we couldn't say anything. Me and my wife were able to go. The school wants us there as minister, wants me there as a minister. They don't care that we're part of this, but we couldn't speak for that meeting. Our students had to answer. And they asked questions like, how are you different than the other groups already here? Because there are other Christian groups there. How are you any different? Why should you be here? What are you going to do to this campus? How are you going to impact it? And they had to answer this question. Some, you turn the paperwork in, and it's just approved. We've not had any groups that have been disapproved yet. Every group that's turned in their paperwork so far has been approved. So let's say you want to start. How are you going to do that? Every church is a little bit different. One, the church needs to be behind it. And first and foremost, the pastor needs to be 100% behind it. If you're going to a church or you're a part of a church, the pastor needs to be for it and needs to be 100% behind it. You need to learn your campus. Spend some time there. That's what Paul did in Athens. You say, what do I do there? Just go there and eat lunch. If you're interested in leading one of these ministries or trying to help something get established, just go there and sit. Look. Listen. See what's going on. So it'll bring a burden in your heart. Learn the campus, what the mascot is. Okay, great. Well, learn some of the buildings in campus, because if you go to Appalachian State and the student says, hey, meet me at the mall, are you going to meet them down at the town mall, or are you going to meet them on the grassy area in the middle of the campus? Meet me at the brickyard, or are you going to meet them over at the building supply company that has the brickyard, or are you going to meet them there at NC State on the brickyard? They're the central point of campus. So just learn the campus, learn a little bit about it, the atmosphere, the feel. You have to have someone to lead a weekly Bible study. We encourage it to be a couple or a man and a woman, just because there are so many young ladies there. We have some where a guy goes in and that's fine. But we feel the most effective way is to have a man and a woman. My wife is there with me. She deals with young ladies all during the week because they need discipling just as bad as the young men do. And I can't disciple the young ladies as effectively as my wife can or another young lady can. We have a group out at Montana State. It's a young man and a young lady. They're not married, but they're doing a tremendous job because she's there to be able to work and to help with those young ladies. He's there to be able to work and help with the young men, because it's about building relationships with these young people. They're away from home. They're looking to you. They're not exactly looking for a mom and dad figure, but they're looking for like a little mentor figure. Somebody that can take the place of mom and dad, but can lead them, can be a role model to them, and they're looking to that. And they want to be in your home. Open up your home to them. They want to come in and eat dinner with you. They want to eat lunch with you. Because guess what? They're tired of eating cafeteria food. Me and my wife say that food is a love language. At our Bible study each week, we have food, home-cooked food prepared for our students. And we don't want to just bring in students for the food. Granted, some do that. Great, they come in, they get to hear the gospel. But we do it because we're speaking in their hearts. We want to know them, that we love them. People in our church love them. Ladies can cook. Men can throw down in our church. We're in the mountains, and I'm telling you, they can throw down and cook some food. So we get them all involved. Just another way to get your people involved. But you got to have somebody willing to lead the Bible study. Number 4, you got to establish a ministry for your name. Collegians for Christ, we help people establish that. We can talk to you about that. We've got a group that's using Turning Point that we've worked with and helped. We're not about building a name. We're about helping people through their church reach students with the gospel. That's our focus. But you got to have a name, and you need to make sure it's not a name that is already established on campus. That's just the most important thing. You don't want to go there with Turning Point and there's already another Turning Point on campus because you can't duplicate it. And then bottom line, when you come to that point, you need to decide on the method of startup. And there's a few different ways you can go in this area. One, let me just say, you may already have a few students from your church. You may already have somebody in your church that works at the school. That's great. It could be as simple as turning in the paperwork. It could not be a hard process for you. Maybe you have 1 or 2 students in your church, you need 10, and you don't have the faculty advisor. It's not hard to find somebody if you know some pastors in town, you know some people. If it's a college town, usually somebody knows somebody that is a Christian that works at that school that would love the opportunity just to be an advisor. You say, what is an advisor? Well, they don't teach, they don't do anything but advise. They are the mediator between that group and the school. They're just basically putting their stamp of approval on it. They can attend one meeting or they can attend every meeting you have. They can be as much as involved or as little involved. Our advisor comes to our meetings probably 3-4 times throughout the year. They're very involved as far as praying for students, trying to help with students, but as far as the meeting itself and the ministry itself, they're just that. The school wants them to be an advisor. So if you have that in your school, in your church, and say you have 2 students, say you have the faculty advisor, but we need 5 or 10, no problem. Because the schools are looking for prospective students. And what that means is you or I, what we can do and what we do is we go out on campus, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I go out, say, hey, talk to students as they're walking around. I'm with Collegians for Christ. We've got ministries elsewhere. We're trying to establish a ministry here at the Appalachian State. Let me ask you a question. Would you be interested in attending a Bible study here on campus? And they're either going to tell you yes or no. And 75% of them are going to say, yeah, I'd be interested. Well, do you mind if I get your name, get your email address, and your student ID, which student ID is typically your email address, and the year you are in school? Yeah, sure. And we write down on a clipboard and get 20 names within 15, 30 minutes. No problem at all. You say, well, what are you doing? I'm getting the other 8 names that I need for that paperwork. Is that wrong? Is that unethical? No, because we can make sure, because almost 95% of schools say we want prospective students interested in this club or in this organization, which is a benefit for you and I if we're trying to establish a ministry, because we can grab those names, and if they come, great. If they don't, great. The main thing is once you get on campus, the students are going to come. You're going to be able to grow the ministry, but it allows you to process that paperwork to get your charter approved. The other way you can go about it, let's say you're going to a place you have no contacts at all. That's what we did at Appalachian. We went there. We did not know any students there at the school. The Lord connected us with a church there. They've been praying for 2 years about reaching that school, but had no idea how to do it. God had burdened our heart about going to Appalachian State and reaching the campus. So we went there. We moved there. And we're just going to start, right? So we rented a little small office right there on King Street. And if you've been to Boone, it's just basically the closest road to campus. It could be, I've got some meeting in a coffee shop on campus that's locally owned. I've got some that have met in the back of a restaurant. It's just whatever the Lord opens up. But what you want to do is go ahead and begin meeting for Bible study. So we rented this office, kind of like a church start. We went and passed out lots of tracts, canvas, left information on the door, had my pastor call a couple pastors in town that he was in fellowship with and said, hey, we're not trying to steal any students from your church, but we're trying to begin this ministry here on campus, and do you have maybe a student, 2, 3, that would be interested? And so we meet for our first night, and we spend about 2-3 weeks leading up to it, trying to talk to students, pass out information, and we just set a night. We're going to meet. We started on Monday nights at 8 o'clock. And we started meeting in this little 8x12 little square room right there on King Street, beside a tattoo parlor and across the street from a bar and beside an ear piercing or a body piercing place. We're smorgasbord in there, but it was open, so we got it. And we're there at 8 o'clock at night, and you can imagine a college town on the street at 8 o'clock at night. It gets a little lively. But we're there, and we're having Bible study. And the first night, 2 people show up. Second night, 2 people show up. Then it went to 1. Then it went to 3. Then it went to 4. Then it went to 5. And we started the fall semester. And by the end of the fall semester, we were coming close to our 10 students. I think we had 7 or 8. And they're all coming faithfully. We're telling them the whole time, hey, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to take this Collegians for Christ off campus, move it on the campus. It's going to allow us to reach students. It's going to allow you to be a part of a group that gets established, really to reach students with the gospel. They get excited about it because they're going to be able to be a part of something new, be a part of something that's going to be bigger than they are. And so by the spring semester, I think February, we had our 10 students. We turned in our paperwork, and that's how long it took us. Now, we've had a group start up Western Carolina. We got a group down there, and we just got students' names. We did the survey method. They didn't even meet. They met off campus at a church for the fall semester. They didn't meet for the spring semester because we were trying to figure out how long it was going to take to get the paperwork processed, and we thought it would take a couple weeks. We ended up taking like 2.5 months. So that group didn't meet off campus for that spring semester, but we started back the next school year meeting on campus, and that ministry is up and running and doing well. So there's many different ways, and your situation will be, every church that we help and we work with, their situation is different. And we can talk with you and tell you and look at your campus and kind of your situation and say, hey, this is what we believe would be the most effective way to get a group established, whether that be meet off campus, whether that be to just go ahead and try to get the names, the students' names, and process the paperwork, and so forth. And then other than that, as you kind of move forward from that, the weekly Bible study, I'll talk about that just for a couple minutes. What do you do at a weekly Bible study? We meet for about an hour and a half. Really, we need to meet longer than that, but that's all we can meet for the school. Our students complain that it's not long enough. Imagine that. We're not able to meet long enough for them. That's so encouraging to me, but I can't do anything different because I'm bound. That's the longest time I can get. And I've been praying God would open us up a door at another building or something on that campus to where we don't have a group coming in right behind us. We've got a fraternity coming in behind us, and we've got to get out immediately. And that's their complaint. We would love to have a longer meeting time. But we meet for Bible study. We have food. I said that. That's a good way to get your church involved in this ministry. We put a sign-up sheet on the back wall. Which is a local sandwich shop. They supply food for us, and this is just God doing stuff over the years. They supply food free of charge once a week or once a month for us. We have some ladies in another church who are preparing home-cooked, delicious food. Sealing it up, bringing it to us, dropping it off. We let people in our church sign up for it. Chick-fil-A brings food to us once a semester. So once people see you, because food is cost. It costs a lot. When you're thinking about feeding 30, 40, 50 students, 10 students, it doesn't matter. It costs money. But being able to get your church people involved in it. So we have food. We begin with food. It just kind of sets the attitude, the tone, and come in and fellowship. We do a spotlight, a 5-10-minute spotlight, and we vary this every semester. We've done missionary martyr stories. When our group gets bigger, I like letting them do it, getting the students involved, let them dig it out. We've allowed them to share their personal testimony. We've had people come in. This past semester, we had people come in that are Christians in their career and just sharing with them how their career their faith has interacted with their career, whether good or bad. The students really love that because, they're going to school, they're going into career, and that really helped them. I think the most impactful thing for us is when students gave their own testimonies. That was powerful. And so we do that. So we begin with food. We have a little spotlight. We do a Bible study. We do praise and prayer requests. I like to split them up into groups. We send them across the room in all different corners. And let them pray together, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. And we have a group that's meeting before that for prayer because they were burdened for their campus. So they meet at 6:15 before our Bible study meets. They do that weekly, trying to see God spark a revival on Appalachian State is what it is. We had 9 student deaths last year at Appalachian State. Rocked our community. You say, what was it from? Well, only one of them was from a car accident. The rest of them were from drug overdoses and suicide, and that rocked our community. Rocked it. And this year alone, they're not all students, but we've had 5 young men die from drug overdose there in Boone. So there's an epidemic going on, heroin overdoses, students getting a hold of stuff that they're just not familiar with. It just shows you where they're searching so hard for something and they're coming up dry. And we have the answer for them. We have what they need. But in that Bible study, we lead a Bible study. We're in a conference-style room. I like that. You choose whatever you want to choose. They have lecture style, they have conference style, they have theater style. When I say conference style, I mean we have a U-shaped table. I sit down at a table. There's nothing wrong with standing up, but this is a Bible study. The students like that. I allow them to get engaged as far as I'm teaching, I'm preaching, but I'm provoking questions. Open-ended questions so that it gets them involved, it gets them responding. They like that. The stadium seating, like a lecture hall, they've been in that all day, and we're trying to come casually together. I mean, I'm not taking away. I don't want to take away from the preaching service. That's left to Wednesday night. That's left to Sunday morning. This is a Bible study, so I come in a knit shirt, khakis, a little bit more casual dress. I wouldn't come in a suit and tie. If you do, great. I'm not going to tell you not to do that, but that's how we come. Just because they're coming in the clothes that they have been in school in all day and they're a little more casually dressed, and just try to be approachable to them. So we do that. We do praise and prayer requests. Review games, we tried that because we came from youth ministry, and I'll be honest with you, they don't like it. You can try it, and if you come up with some good games, and we've tried a few, they're okay, but I don't know if it's just a stage out. I mean, youth eat it up. But we tried doing review games, and they don't really dig it. So if you find something they like, please let me know. And then students will definitely hang out afterwards for fellowship. Think about the ministry name. I say that as you're preparing for this ministry. Collegians for Christ is definitely available for you to use, and we can talk to you about that. Using that, you say, what benefit would that be for me? Like I say, we're not trying to build a name because all these are ministries out of local churches, but it gives you the ability to associate yourself with a ministry that's been on the campuses for over 20 years. Some schools will ask you that. Some schools want to know, are you affiliated with anybody or is this just something that's just come along? Is this just by a fly-by-night kind of deal that's come along on campus? So it gives you the ability, a little bit of clout. It gives you the ability to network. If, say, I'm sending a student to another state, to a school, I can go on Collegians for Christ website and look and find, okay, they've got a ministry at East Carolina University. They've got a ministry at Florida State. They've got a ministry, wherever it is, LSU. And I know that they can connect with this church that's in this area. So it helps us as believers to network together. Not that we're a part of an association or anything like that, but we're networking together. We're using each other. We're helping. And we also provide resources for people who use Collegians for Christ. We've got tracts that we print that can be, we do different colors, school colors. But this is what we use. It goes in a post office box. It's just a simple invitation. It has a gospel presentation on the back. We use these 3x5 cards very frequently just because they're little. You can keep them in your pocket, hand them out, and they're cheaper because, you think of a campus of 18,000 students, you go through thousands of these. And so we use these a lot, and they can be done with your school information, your church information on the back, your school colors. We also have one that's a little more detailed of a track. It has the information on the back. Collegians for Christ, your Bible study, your website, and different things. This can be done in your school colors. We can have those printed for you. This was written with the Acts 17 mind frame. It's written just a little bit different than your normal gospel track. It backs up to creation. It kind of speaks to their conscience there using the law. But we use that. It works very well with college students because many of them, we're in a post-Christian country. When you walk on that college campus, you have to back up. I used to go there at the very beginning of it and just try to share Jesus Christ with them, and I got this. I'm like, what is wrong with this? And the gospel hasn't lost its power. That's not the problem, but I realized you got to meet them where they're at. They don't know who God is. They didn't know who Jesus Christ was. So I had to back up like Paul in Athens and say, look, the creator of the universe, this is God that I'm sharing with you. This is the God that I'm sharing with you. And show them that they are a sinner. Show them that they need Jesus Christ before you present Jesus Christ to them. And so that's what that track is all about. We do a quarterly newsletter on our table in the gym. You can sign up for it. We send this out. It's just to be a help, a resource. That's what we're about. We're just to help you as a church, as a campus ministry worker, as a college ministry worker, whether it be Sunday school, working with college-age young people, whether it's a campus ministry. I think both are vitally important. We're talking here today about carrying it to the campus, but I believe having a college and career Sunday school class is vitally important. We established our campus ministry first at Appalachian State and then integrated into a Sunday school. Some people may want to do a Sunday school first to get some students coming in and then go to the campus. I don't think there's a right or wrong way by doing that. But we did. We went to the campus, we got students, and then we established a ministry because they needed somewhere to go. And then the international aspect, I'll mention that in about a minute, then I'll see if you guys have any questions. But the international students that study on the college campuses for the 9th straight year in a row increased. You say, so what? I want you to see what God is doing. When I went on the campuses, I thought God was going to send me to Mexico to be a missionary. That's what I studied. I worked with Hispanics for about 8 years, loved them, and then God shut that door. And I got on a college campus, and I was just, what is going on? Then I opened my eyes up and saw Appalachian State has over 70 countries represented there. If you go to the University of Virginia with me, over 140 countries come and study there. You say, what are you saying? God is sending the mission field to America. Where are they landing? They're landing in the backyards of our churches. The countries the most leading countries are China, India, South Korea, and Saudi Arabia, and the majority of them come from the 1040 window. So God says, no, you cannot go there, missionaries, but guess what, American church? If you'll wake up, I'm bringing the mission field to you. Where is it landing? It's landing in your backyard. It's landing in Boone, North Carolina. Noreen from Swaziland, Africa, comes here as an exchange student. We meet her. Long story short, she gets saved, baptized 3 weeks before she's to go back home. She's back in Swaziland, Africa with the gospel seed in her heart. We have a young lady, Anna from Thailand. She's coming. We got a Thai Bible for her so she can read it in her native language. She's coming faithfully. She said this to us, I never knew this Jesus did this for me, and held out her arms. I never knew. And she's learning, and she's right there. But if you can multiply that 975,000 times over, can you see the multiplication that God can do with the outreach of your local church? You have the ability, your people in your church have the ability to carry out the entire Great Commission in Acts 1:8 within a square mile. Jerusalem, your town, students are going to attend. Judea, your county and your state, students are going to attend. Samaria, the country, they're going to attend. The world, they're going to attend. So you have the full ability to reach the world from the confines of a college campus. Anybody have any questions? Anything at all? Yes, sir.
You any experience trying to reach like religious-based schools like Catholic school or we've got a couple of different religious-based schools in our town. Have you experienced there? Are they different trying to get to than the state schools?
That's a great question. So any religious school, like a Baptist-affiliated, Catholic-affiliated school, they all have the same requirements. Now, could they, because they are private, could they be a little more, discriminatory? Possibly. The good thing is when you go in with a name like Collegians for Christ, it doesn't scream Independent Baptist. Not that we're trying to shy away from being a Baptist, but it does allow you to go in. You're affiliating with Christ. What Catholic's not for Christ. What Southern Baptist is not for Christ. Go ahead.
Would that depend on whether they are, if they're receiving state funds, then they'll be required under the equal access law?
Yes, sir.
Same as any state school,
Yes, sir. They will, even though they're private. And when you go on, when I've researched the private schools in the South, I've researched many of the schools. You'll find Campus Crusade for Christ. You'll find the Methodists on a Catholic school. You'll find other groups from other denominations on those schools. So I would say they're going to be open to you. Though I just throw in there as a possibility. We have not had any. We've got some churches who are interested in pursuing that, but we've not had the ability to get one established fully on a campus yet. We've got some groups that are working that way. So it is open to you if you have those in your area. Yes, sir. Community college, great question too. Community college is wide open the same way. They all have the same requirements. Only difference is you may need to meet in the afternoon, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. We have a group on Wilson Community College meeting at 2 o'clock in the cafeteria just because students are not there all night. That would be the main difference, and knowing that students are going away from there and coming back would be your difference. That's a great question. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Things like safe zones and all this that's come up in the past couple of years, pose any struggle or problem in the colleges that you're a part of, that you know of?
When you're saying safe zone, as far as the
college students who are creating places where they don't want to be offended.
Yes, gotcha. That is a hot topic. I mean, you can imagine the bathroom situation is first and foremost. If it's not in Charlotte, it's going to be on the college campus. There's a lot of talk. I got an email. If you're familiar with the House Bill 2 that was passed in North Carolina, Appalachian State's SGA sent out an email that they are completely against it, broadcast that all across the campus. That's my Student Government Association there at App. So that's a hot topic. I mean, if it's going to be diversity, if it's going to be discrimination, it's going to be talked about. I don't have any issues with it thus far personally. Our group does not have any issues with it. We're there. I mean, we had the LGBT Center there on campus. They've given them a whole office, a whole section of a building there just for that group. But I don't have any per se because we're there religious. I've not had any encounters or any issues because of that. But it is a hot topic. It is something you need to deal with your students, with that college community because, I know Appalachian State, the bathroom situation is going to be an issue and other things coming up just with everything the way our country's going are going to be issues there on the campus. Because if the students want it, the college is going to give it to them. And we're praying. I've been praying a lot. I've been thinking a lot about having a Christian. The LBG has the LGBT Center. We'd like to see a Christian center, Christian student center, not religious because that opens it up too broad. But if our students want that, the college more than likely would give them that. These colleges want to give students what they want. It's crazy. We just want to give them everything they want, but that's the mind frame. That's a good question. I hope I answered that for you. Anybody else have any questions? Anything at all? Yes, sir.
As ministry, you're talking about primarily geared towards students, or do you also work with staff, faculty, things like that?
Yes, sir. That's a great question. Ours at Appalachian State is geared towards everybody. Right now, we're working with students, but as we're there, the doors begin to open up with sports teams, sororities, fraternities. And my advisor mentioned to me last year that he's been praying about an opportunity to do a Bible study with faculty members, so he can organize that. And he's been thinking about it and praying about it because it was mentioned amongst the faculty and staff, hey, maybe we'd like to have a Bible study ourselves among the Christian staff. So yes, I mean, you'll go in probably initially looking at students, but when you're there, the door begins to open up because you're there. They see you. They understand who you are. I mean, the football team, we had the opportunity with one of our young men was leading the Bible study for At's football team. I was before the wrestling team about 2 months ago, going to present our ministry to them. Just lots of different opportunities here at UT. They've got sororities a couple times a week that they're going into and leading Bible studies. So, no, we definitely don't neglect the faculty and staff because, honestly, if you want to change the university, that's what you need to change. You need to reach the faculty and staff in order to change those students. So that's definitely a burden on my heart, and I pray as I walk that campus, Lord, give us an opportunity to reach the faculty and staff. How that door is going to open, I don't know, but that's a very good question. Anybody else have a question? Yes, sir.
Sort of in Michigan, with some of the community colleges are working through some of the high schools and giving a 13th and a 14th grade to high school students, but they're going to the community colleges. Have you had that dynamic where you go to a community college or something, but you're actually having a crossover into the public school system, and how do you deal with that?
Yes. No, that's a great question because a lot of the community colleges are open to high schoolers coming in, taking college level classes. They're there and they're just as accessible as any of the college students are. There would be no hindrance to them. I mean, they just blend in. You don't even realize who they are till you talk to them. That's very prevalent on community college campuses because a lot of high school students are going there, and we just want to reach them with the gospel. There's nothing that's going to cut a line between you and them or hinder you from reaching them. As far as our experience is, you're going to be able to reach them just the same. Granted, their mind and their maturity may be a little bit younger than the average college student there on the campus. Yes, sir. You got a question, young man? You sure can. Come on. You sure can. This is my son, Jackson, my wife, Amanda, in the back. And if you're a family, husband and wife with a child, you can do this ministry because he is just as much a part of Collegians for Christ at App State as me and my wife are. You can come over here in front so they all see you. Tell them what you do. You want that? You're welcome to use it.
Well, what I do for the Bible study is I buy Bibles for anybody who hasn't had a Bible before or doesn't have one. And one night we were knocking on doors and we met a guy named Josh, and he had never held a Bible before. We went and got one of the Bibles that I had bought for him, and that was the first time he ever had a Bible, and that was like a blessing.
Very good, bud. So any age, anybody can get engaged. And if you have any questions, me and my wife are here all week. We have our table set up. Please come by. Our ministry will come to you. We'll help you. We'll do training in your church, so forth. If you want to ask me questions about that, let's pray and we'll be on our way. Lord, I thank you for this day, this opportunity we have to come together, the ones that came out, Lord, to learn more about carrying the gospel to the campus, Lord. I pray, God, that you use each person here. God, that you would open up doors on the campuses that they raise their hands, that they represent, Lord, that you would allow ministries to be established. Lord, raise up the laborers. God, help us to reach the college campus. Lord, send us revival through our young people. And Lord, just pray that you do an amazing work through the rest of this week. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.